Lady, their preview here on All for United. I am your host, Temi, aka Temi Talks United. Everyone, make sure to go to youtube.com/All for United. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we are doing our first prize draw that we've been working on. Will be coming out this Saturday on AFU Uncut. So everyone, make sure to stick around to the end of the show. I'm going to ask a question. The first 5 people to answer it correctly are going to get a chance to wear some great merchandise from Football Town Apparel. Again, it's an iconic number 7 shirt. Look it up on the AFU Twitter page. Everyone, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you have a chance to win some great merchandise from Football Town Apparel. I have a great group of people with me today. I have Connor, I have Henry, I have James, and we are going to be previewing the AC Milan game heading into this Europa League draw during this week. It's really sad that, this isn't a Champions League draw because it would be much, much more interesting. Just a fact. But we're in the Europa League. We can't complain. We've done this to ourselves. But facing AC Milan, so many great memories for us if you're younger, you know what I'm saying, watching the likes of Rooney, just so many great moments facing that team. So I'm excited to, run it back again. And hopefully we can get a result from this. I'm going to start with Connor today, bro. What are you thinking about this game? Obviously, off the back of a huge win against City. How do you think, what do you think our chances are in that tie?
I think we've got a good chance over the 2 legs. I worry about how much it's took out of the players in the City game going into this one on Thursday. It looked like, especially towards the end of that City game, a few players looked leggy. Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire. Obviously, Rashford's gone off with an injury. We don't know how bad that is. So a few players are probably going to look leggy, and I don't expect him to field a rotated side either, although I would prefer to see a rotated side. I'm in a bit of 2 minds because I'd like to see a rotated side because I think obviously we've got a crucial league game against West Ham next weekend. However, I think we need to get the tie done in the first leg again, purely because we've got Leicester. If we want to go far in the FA Cup, obviously we've got a tough game against Leicester right after the second leg. So I think it's a case of we need to get a big advantage in the first leg to potentially rotate in the second, but whether Ollie will rotate, I'm not too sure. But I think we've got a good chance over the 2 legs, but I do worry about the fitness certainly coming after that City game because that would have taken a lot out of the players.
Do we lose Connor there? But anyway, no, you made some great points there, Connor. Rotation is definitely going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. Is Pogba going to be healthy? Is, Van de Beek going to be back in this? I think he's been on the bench, but is he going to feature in this game at any point? I think he's probably going to make 1 or 2 changes. I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. We might come in for this game. We could see him rotate the midfield up a little bit. But AC Milan, I don't want him to over rotate because I do want to win this competition. You know what I'm saying? And I think that sometimes when you over rotate, you have a chance of just the team not having great chemistry together. AC Milan are doing really well in Serie A right now. I think they're second in the table behind Inter Milan. So, this isn't going to be an easy outfit. I think it's definitely going to be a bigger challenge than Sociedad was, especially that first leg where we just absolutely battered them. But Henry, what do you think, AC Milan are going to – how big of a threat do you think they are in comparison to Sociedad? Do you think this is to Connor's point, do you think this is an opportunity to rotate, or do you think that, Ollie should probably pick his strongest side in this game?
Well, I think, obviously, you look at the Europa League, you think, this is the Europa League. Obviously, it's not the Champions League, and you think, it's a great opportunity to rotate things. But then you look at who we're playing. Obviously, AC Milan, you'd argue, probably, obviously, both of us are playing in the Europa League, but, 2 pretty decent sides you maybe could consider Champions League sort of level sides. And unfortunately, we found ourselves in this position. But yeah, I think we've just got to go for it. And obviously, I wouldn't say there isn't much to fight for in the league, because obviously there is. We want to make progress from last season. We want to finish 3rd last season. It'd be great to finish 2nd, close that gap a bit more. And obviously we need to secure top 4 because, at the minute it looks all right, but, things can change quickly. There's not a massive point gap up there. But I think, silverware will definitely be at the forefront of Solskjaer's mind. I think, AC Milan will look at what Sociedad did wrong. I think, it sort of provides an example, I should say, of what not to do, basically, especially in that first leg, where they completely opened themselves up, and obviously they were hugely punished for that. And you know what? Yeah, I'd expect AC Milan to do a better job than Sociedad did, to be honest, because I think Sociedad really were sort of poor in that first leg. Obviously, Zlatan missing the first leg, as far as I understand, that's a huge boost for us. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I think we've got to be careful with rotation because that they are going to be a handy outfit, definitely.
No, 100%. Everyone, make sure to drop your questions for the preview Q&A show right now at the end. We want to get as many questions as possible for the guys here. Everyone, make sure to drop your questions in the comments right now. We want to have as many questions as possible for the end of the show. Everyone, make sure to hit the like button. If we get to 20 likes on this stream, you know what I'm saying? One of you has a chance to win some great merchandise from Football Town Apparel. So make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we are going to, continue. James, I want to talk a little bit more about AC Milan. I didn't know about, Zlatan being out. That's a huge loss for them. But what do you know about this AC Milan? So I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think their biggest threats are to us, bar, Zlatan not playing and things like that? How do you think they could be a different challenge to us than, say, Sociedad was?
I think we have to look at our, midfield options and who's missing from the midfield, more importantly, because their midfields are an area they're pretty strong. I think, obvious candidates of Kessie, Kessie on his own could probably run that midfield, but, there's a few decent options in there. I'm by no means an AC Milan expert, but, to say that, Ibrahimovic is meant to be out, Çalhanoğlu's out, I think I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Benaka, I think he's one of their better players, and he's supposedly out as well. So it is going to be a good time to play AC Milan. They're obviously not on the form they were earlier in the season that saw them top of the league. They've obviously dropped off a little bit now. They're being caught up by Juventus in third. So, it is probably a good time to play them. I think if we play not how we played against City, we need to approach the game differently. But if we play as well as we did against City, we should have no problems dispatching them. But this is United we're talking about. We genuinely could have any sort of performance. It's impossible to predict.
Yeah, no, that you're making a great point. And this is the City. I during the reaction to the City game, I said that I think that game was a one-off personally. It's hard to kind of take too much from that City game when, numbers are behind to what I expect. I don't expect us to sit back the way we did versus City. Obviously, it was great moments of quality when we did have the ball. But I think we're going to have a lot more of the ball than we did versus City. And Connor, I want to ask you what you think about some of our outfield players recently. I think there's been a lack of quality, bar the City game, for quite a while now in some of the players. Crystal Palace, that game specifically, just such a poor performance from so many players. Do you think that we're going to see better football from our side? Obviously, like James said, it's been pretty inconsistent. Also, it's high highs, low lows. But do you think Ollie's going to be able to set us up to be efficient in this game, for lack of a better term?
I mean, even in the City game, there was still a lack of quality in midfield with Fred and McTominay. Obviously, they've got their limitations. Although it was a brilliant team performance, we still had that lack of quality, and obviously, I think that's evident anyway. I don't think Ollie can do too much because it's Thursday. You're not going to be able to turn these players into the best team in the world by Thursday. So there's stuff he can do tactically. I think we'll approach it slightly different to the City game. I think we will try and win this in the first leg, similar to Sociedad, but that doesn't mean that we're going to go out all guns blazing and try and blitz them in the first 60 minutes or so, because I haven't seen us do that for a long time. Maybe Leeds, earlier in the season. But no, I think quality-wise, I mean, obviously you're looking at Fernandes. Rashford will likely be out. I hope he's not playing if he's still carrying this injury, to give him a bit of a break. Cavani, hit and miss as well. Probably wouldn't take the chance on him. So it's going to be a big game for Martial and for Greenwood. And obviously if James can continue this form as well. So I think more for our attacking players, like the likes of Martial and Greenwood, it's a big opportunity for them to get a couple of goals. Because in particular, Martial, if he can kickstart his season, obviously there's not too long to go. If he can get a couple of goals in the Europa League and use that as a jump pad almost to start getting some goals in the Premier League, it'll benefit the team overall.
No, 100%. That's a great point you mentioned about the forwards. I hope Rashford gets a rest. Honestly, I'm pretty tired of hearing this. When he performs poorly, it seems like the injury excuses start coming out, and then when he starts scoring goals, the injuries suddenly disappear. I don't know what that is, but if he is hurt, if he is truly hurt, I seriously do not want to see him playing on Thursday night. I would rather see, honestly, Dan James has been playing pretty good. That sounds crazy, but I have no issues with Dan James coming in for Marcus Rashford right now because of the way he's been playing. I think there's almost like a fear from some of our fan base, and it seems like the coaching staff for certain players to rest. I think Marcus Rashford is one of those players. Henry, what do you think about our forward line? Anthony Martial obviously has had a very good game against Man City. His struggles over the course of the season have been well documented, in front of goal. How important do you think it is for, one, do you think he's going to, Rashford will play? Two, do you think Anthony Martial will kind of hopefully continue the good, that good 90 minutes he put in versus Man City?
To answer the second question with Martial, I think it's an extremely hard one because I think, I've been someone who's been really critical of Martial this season. I think for the most part, he's been pretty poor. But, as you can see yesterday, players like him who have obviously got, a lot of quality can turn up and put in massive performances. And that's obviously what he did against City and, did absolutely magnificently. I think he sort of shifted his style in a way from, he was seen as sort of a very clinical finisher, Anthony Martial. And I think, this season, especially with, Bruno's output improving and, not relying on him for goals as much, we've seen that he's become sort of, I don't want to call him a false nine, but certainly a lot more sort of focused on link-up play, which, is not necessarily a negative thing as long as the players around you are scoring goals. Personally, I prefer, an out-and-out number 9. That's probably why I've been, a bit biased or a bit more affectionate towards Edinson Cavani. I personally just prefer the way he plays. But yeah, with regards to Rashford, I think he will play, and whether that's the right decision or not, I'm not sure. I'd probably say he definitely needs a rest. But as we've seen with Fernandes and Rashford and Maguire so many times this season, there are certain players Solskjaer doesn't really like to rotate, and I think Rashford's one of those. So we'll have to see what he goes with that. And obviously, I think we can all see that Rashford there's a slight problem there. I think going up for headers and things like that. I think it is quite obvious if you actually look back at things. He's playing with that little bit of tentativeness of going into 50-50s and things like that, which is a real big shame, and you don't want to damage it any further. So personally, I wouldn't play him. I'm not sure what front three you'd play there. It'd probably have to be Greenwood, James, Martial, I'd imagine. I think that's probably what you go with, but we'll have to see what he does. But to answer your question, I don't think he will rotate Rashford,
No, that's a fair enough, and I hope you're wrong. But I agree with you. I agree with you. And this is not a Rashford witch hunt, but I just think that it's one, he's been playing so much, right? Like if we just started, he just needs a rest. Secondly, I just think he's not been playing that well. When he scores goals, it looks wonderful. It's beautiful, but I'm talking about the full 90. I just have not been sold for the past couple of months on his performances personally. I would have no issue with Martial, Greenwood, Dan James, front three, because I think I'm getting something different from everyone. You know what I'm saying? For Martial, I'm getting the hold-up play, the ability to play with the back, with his back to goal. With Greenwood, I'm getting the ability to cut in the same way with Rashford on that right-hand side. He can cut in on his left and score. And with Dan James, I'm getting whatever. I'm getting directness. I'm getting crosses into the box. I'm getting work rate, defense, all of those things. So it proposes a different outfit. I'm going to come to James real quick on the midfield. And Connor mentioned this earlier. Fred and McTominay, I thought defensively against Man City, both of them were excellent. But on the ball, I thought they were personally. I thought both of them were shocking, especially in that first half. There was a point where McTominay in that first half, I think he gave away the ball like 3-4 times in a row. I'm like, it was just not okay. Same thing with Fred, just misplacing passes, and there's just a lack of quality in there. And I think AC Milan have some really good midfielders, like you mentioned. One, do you think Matic could come in for a game like this? And two, how important do you think it is for us to maybe get a Pogba back or a Matic back in the side to kind of give us some ball retention in midfield.
It goes without saying, doesn't it? We've seen firsthand the absence, the impact of Pogba's absence. But I probably, it depends how we set out to play AC Milan. Are we at home first leg or away?
I think, are we home? I think we're home. Yeah.
If we're at home, I'd imagine we'd really take the game to AC Milan. So I think Matic should maybe be the one to go for, give you a bit of a solid base, and then put McTominay beside him and push him up the field a little bit more. Matic gives you that ability to pick the ball up deep and progress it a little bit with his passing ability. But we see the good side of McTominay and Fred in the big games where we keep clean sheets. Yes, they've got no attacking output really whatsoever. McTominay has his goals, but against big teams, he's not really allowed to go forward. But against the smaller teams, I think Matic in there is invaluable. But I think if you've got to put him next to McTominay, I think having Matic next to Fred is pretty much redundant because Fred's not really much of an outlet at all, is he? Matic brings the ball from the defence to the focus of play, and I think Fred's not a player that wants to be in and around that busy area pinging balls about. So I think McTominay and Matic is probably the partnership I'd go for, providing McTominay's fit. Obviously, he is. I don't know if he's fully recovered from that injury yet, but playing a full 90 at the Etihad would probably suggest that he had.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I would 1,000% go with that midfield if Pogba's not healthy and fit to play. I'm a big fan of Fred. I think a lot of his frailties that are showing now, he's always shown them, but when you're playing as much as he is, and we're improving as a squad specifically. You're seeing a lot of his missteps. His passing isn't great, but he does provide a level of energy. But like you said, Fred and Matic, I don't want to see that. Crystal Palace showed me enough of and West Ham. I think was it a cup game against West Ham, or what was that? I can't remember I think it was a cup game against West Ham that was just miserable. I don't want to see Fred and Matic again. Matic at least gives us, like you said, that ball retention. McTominay can go a little bit further forward when Matic is in there to kind of provide that spark. So, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, James. I think Matic and McTominay is going to be my preferred partnership. Now let's go to the back, specifically with the Eric Bailly conversation. Everyone loves Eric Bailly. When we talk about favorite partnerships, everyone always throws Bailly in there. But I think I wouldn't be shocked if he played in this game, but I also wouldn't be shocked if Ollie didn't rotate because he trusts that back four a lot. 4 clean sheets on the bounce for that back four, I think, which is pretty impressive. Granted, we've been frustrated with the side because there's been a couple 0-0s in there, but I don't want Harry Maguire up top anyway scoring goals. So do you think that, he might just stay with that trusted back four? Luke Shaw, I mean, we'll talk about him later. Absolutely excellent. Do you think he's going to rotate and bring Bailly back into the side? And do you think that would be the right decision?
I don't think so in the first leg. I think maybe if Zlatan was playing, it might have been a different conversation. I think Bailly probably would have been a shoe-in then. I think I don't want him to. I would prefer to see Bailly in there just because of Lindelof's injury that he's been carrying all season. It would be nice for him to get a bit of a rest. You could probably get from my tone and the things that I've said already, I don't really rate this game. I'd rather focus on West Ham and Leicester coming up. So as many players we can give a rest, the better for me. So I think he will go with Maguire and Lindelof, certainly for the first leg. If Zlatan was playing, it might have been a different story. And I don't think Luke Shaw will be playing either, just because he looked a bit shaky towards the end of the City game with the injury that he looked like he might have picked up. I know he soldiered on till the end, but I wouldn't take the risk with him either. Tellez is more than capable of filling in next to Maguire on that left hand side, so I think we should rotate there. But no, with the centre backs, it's definitely going to be Maguire, and I'm pretty sure it would be Lindelof in the first leg. In the second leg, I think that's where you see Bailly come in, depending on what the result is in the first.
Oh, that's a great call. Luke Shaw's been playing so well, I honestly forgot Tellez was in the squad. I didn't even think about that, the idea of Luke Shaw not playing a game. But that's a great shout. I would not mind Tellez coming in for this game, giving Luke Shaw a break, because I do think that top four is definitely of the utmost important, but I still want that trophy. Like if we don't get a trophy this season, so many questions are gonna be asked. It's gonna be a big debate, that none of us have control over, but we love to think we do. I don't want him to over-rotate that back four too much, Connor. I do agree with the Tellez one, and I think, like you said, Maguire and Lindelof will play, but I don't want to see, Bailly and Tellez come in, or, maybe he rotates the right back, or like I just hope he kind of keeps it as stable as possible, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
I think even if you rotate 4 or 5 players, I think we've got enough to beat AC Milan anyway. With the form that they're currently on, they've looked good up until their current injury crisis that they're going through. I still think we've got enough to do them over 2 legs. I said, I think if this was a 1-legged tie and this was make or break, I think it might have been slightly different, but we should be able to do them.
That's confident. I think that's pretty that's confident of you. I don't know if I'm that confident because I just know how this United side are. We can beat Man City and then get spanked by AC Milan. It's just how we operate. I am of the opinion that when a team, I haven't watched enough of AC Milan this year. I prefer to watch. I was just watching the Inter Milan Atalanta game before we hopped on here, but I imagine it's going to be relatively even in possession. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think it's going to be a pretty back and forth type of game. We're going to have the ball some. They're going to have spells of possession. We're going to have spells of possession. And I think those are the type of games where it's kind of, as long as they're compact and sit in a decent shape when we do have the ball, I'm worried. You know what I'm saying? I'm not as confident as you, Connor. Henry, are you on the same train as Connor? I'm not as confident. I can't lie to you. I'm not that confident.
No, I share your tentative nature, mate. To be honest, I'm not all that confident. I've got to say I do appreciate the confidence. To be honest, people won't believe me. I was actually quietly confident for the City game. I said I thought we might nick that, and obviously I look like a prophet now, don't I? Even though it's obviously not on paper, but trust me, I did say I'm not making that up. But I'm not confident, not that confident. I think just because I think back to games like the Watford game in the FA Cup, where we rotated the side and everyone thought we'll absolutely turn them over. We've got enough rotation, our squad's good enough to see them out. And as Connor sort of put it there, he thinks if we rotate, we don't have to see our face Milan. And in that Watford game, we ended up just sort of scraping it 1-0, wasn't it? That McTominay header. So I think I'm not massively confident when we rotate. I don't think. Obviously, when you rotate aside, the chemistry is not fantastic. The players that we don't play a lot, don't play together. Juan Mata, players like that who have just been sat on the bench for a long time. They're not very fresh. They're not being kept fresh in any sort of way. So I don't know. I wouldn't over rotate. I think I share what Temi says with the back four. You've got to be very careful. You don't want to upset that balance because obviously it's been working really well at the minute. What changes I'd make? I think Tellez for sure. I think is going to happen. I think I'd expect that to happen because, as you said, as you guys sort of alluded to, Shaw did look a little bit touch and go with the last sort of few minutes of the City game. So I'd expect Tellez to come in there, and it's just what he does with the centre halves. Really, as you say, he might say bye for the second leg, might bring him in tomorrow, and as Connor said, Lindelof's back injury that we've obviously sort of seen a lot throughout the season. So it'll be an interesting one. I don't quite share Connor's confidence, but I completely appreciate it.
No, fair enough. I hope it's an entertaining game. That for me, that's the most important thing. Obviously winning is the obvious most important thing, but in terms of just entertainment value, I think we've lacked that tremendously over the past couple of months. Like I'll watch another football match and be like, this is like in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, this is way more entertaining than the football I watch on the weekends with my favorite team. So I hopefully we can get something different here. I think the Sociedad game showed us that, if someone tries to play football against us, it can be a very entertaining outfit. I'm just not too sure that, the Italian game is very different. Team shape is of the utmost importance to them. You know what I'm saying? They play even when you play an exciting brand of football, that split second where you have to defend, most of them are normally switched on. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. We'll talk about score predictions at the end, but James, do you share that sentiment with me? I think it's going to be a relatively I don't think it's going to be a 4-0. It might be a 1-1, 2-0 type of game to me. If that, what do you think?
Yeah, I sort of feel the same. I think the expectation for the game and the hype around it of these two like sleeping giants meeting, I think that will sort of overshadow the actual game itself. I think it'll just be two teams who are trying to get back into the second leg in one piece more than anything. I think with both sides depleted from injuries and everything. But just to go back to your argument on who should start at centre back, I actually think Bailly should be given the nod, because you look at Zlatan Ibrahimovic is out injured, likely to play Rebic up front, and if we saw from what we saw at the World Cup with Croatia and what we've seen, from there, he's a player who thrives on pace and power. So surely you match him up 1-to-1 with Eric Bailly, don't you? That makes sense to me, unless obviously they throw a spanner in the works and play someone else there. I think I'm all for the fact that you've got to keep a stable back line and not rotate too much. But I think, for the sake of matching our opposition, I think you've got to play Eric Bailly and Harry Maguire in there.
That's I'm torn on that one, James. I really am. I've always said I think Lindelof is our best center back. Everyone thinks I'm crazy for that. But that being said, I'm never mad when Bailly comes into the side. I just don't want that. For me, when you have, like you both said, Tellez is kind of, nailed on. Now that I'm thinking about it, I would agree with that. Tellez coming in for this game is not going to hurt our chances. But I think the last time we over-rotated in the back four was against Sheffield United when we lost. I just think it's that important when you do too much to that back line, it can really affect everything that kind of trickles on ahead of it. You know what I'm saying? So I would personally go Maguire and Lindelof, simply because I like you guys said, Tellez is going to come in, and I don't want too much rotation. But there is one person we haven't mentioned that I have to give a shout out to, because I've been, a skeptic, and that's Dean Henderson. He played really well against Man City. That was the first game I really felt, you know what I'm saying? That was the first game I felt like he was properly tested. The team was of proper quality. He had to be locked on the whole game because, City was in their half, a big portion of it. He made a crucial throw to Luke Shaw that started a break and a goal. Huge opportunity for him, Connor. Do you think that he will what's the word I'm looking for? Do you think this is the moment where we kind of see the changing of the guard from De Gea to Dean Henderson?
Yeah, I agree with you yesterday when we were on the review show for City, and I've been saying this for a while now. I think De Gea complements the team better. Henderson complements the team better than De Gea does. And Henderson hasn't really been tested this season until that City game. I know he played against Liverpool, but that was a much more open game. And these games coming up, you think we've got Milan, West Ham, Milan again, Leicester. So tough games that Henderson, if he can come through this with a few, I don't think he's going to keep a clean sheet in every single one, but if he can come through this with, let's say, 3 clean sheets, then he is in with a real shout next season. And I think the decision will be made that I think it will be made anyway due to wages and just his age. It would make more sense that it's Henderson. And like I said, he complements our back line better. And I go back to what we were just discussing with the rotation. I think with Henderson behind, I think you can rotate that back four. I think if you've got De Gea behind a rotated back four, it's slightly different to when you've got Henderson there. Henderson seems to complement the back two. Let's say it's Maguire and Bailly. Let's start there. He complements them a lot more just because of the kind of goalkeeper he is. I think it would be a different conversation if De Gea was starting tomorrow rather than Henderson. So that's why I think you can rotate that back line. So yeah, if he can get another clean sheet against another decent side, like I said, although I'm confident about Thursday, I don't think Milan are a bad side. They're definitely one of the best teams left in this tournament. So it's not going to be easy for him. But yeah, it's a big few weeks for him. He's not going to get. I think they said on the commentary for the City game, you have to get a bit of luck to get a break in football. He's got this now with De Gea being out. It's a big opportunity for him. So I hope that he continues up this good form and we will see that change next season.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so too. I really hope so too. There's nothing wrong with having 2 really, really good goalkeepers. I'm still not as what's the word I'm looking for? I need at least 5 games on the bounce. I just need to see that. It's easy to. I know you just said he complements the back 2 better. We still kind of have to see that, in my opinion. I don't think when De Gea first came in, he had to prove himself. It wasn't just a season at Sheffield United and then a couple games at United and then it's boom. You're the starter. I think that for me, I'm just excited that this is kind of a period where this is a litmus test. He can play against bigger sides. West Ham, that's going to be a big matchup. There's definitely going to be chances that he has to make some key saves, and I'm waiting for those opportunities to kind of give him that stamp of approval. But he's definitely started off really good with that City game. Henry, I know you're a fan of De Gea. Do you think that this is a potential? I don't want to say it's a potential changing of the guard, but do you think that Henderson is ready for this? And do you think that De Gea could be, for lack of a better term, iced out of the squad, even if Henderson, let's say Henderson plays well, plays really well, do you think De Gea will come back into the side?
Honestly, I don't have a clue what the answer to that is. And, as you say, I am a massive fan of David De Gea. I've always backed him. I think people have perhaps been a bit too hyperbolic when talking about him. I think, a bit of scapegoating going on. Obviously, there has been mistakes. He hasn't been the David De Gea that we all sort of, fawned over being the best in the world about sort of 2, 3, 4 years ago. But he's still, for me, a fantastic shot stopper, David De Gea. And I think people do need to respect that. Obviously, there has been other aspects of the game that have been, analysed heavily, and rightly so. His claiming of crosses hasn't been good enough. And, when you've got a player like Dean Henderson who comes in, gets this chance, and you see him coming out and claiming crosses and things like that, it is very it's a very encouraging thing to see. It will be really interesting to see what Solskjaer does, because he's always massively backed David De Gea. I think publicly every press conference he gets the chance to praise David De Gea, he's done so. And now obviously Dean Henderson gets this break, and if Dean Henderson plays well, it's going to be hard to say De Gea's back, time for you to get out of the team, mate. Because I think as we've seen already from Henderson, he has played very well, and he's been very impressive. And you know what, I'm not going to try and sit here and compare our 2 players against each other and then have that sort of debate and get heated over it and argue over who's better, because they're both our players. We can sit back, we can relax, and we've got these options now to have for the rest of the season. And then come the summer, there will have to be a decision, I imagine. But until then, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Comments. Henderson, Stuart O'Hara says Henderson is ready. He's the same age now as De Gea when he was starting to become very good. Fair shout. Very fair shot about that. I still need to see 5 to 10 games on the bounce in a United jersey. I know he did well against Sheffield United. It's just a completely different outfit. You know what I'm saying? To being the man at Manchester United, Let's get in these comments real quick. Let's see. Andrew talked about Martial. Martial's performance gave us faith in him. He was excellent yesterday, though he should have probably scored. Very true. I don't know how he missed that chance. Needs to be producing more on a consistent basis. 100%. 100%. Very excited about this game. United sauce and winger. Temi, have you just bought a De Gea shirt or something, bro? Henderson's place to lose. We should never have two number ones. Shambles. My guy right here. United sauce and wingers. To that point, I don't think it's Henderson's place to lose. I think, again, it's not Henderson's place to lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, yes, De Gea has made some big mistakes over the past, let's just say, 2 years. You know what I'm saying? I think this season he's had a very good season. No matter what anybody says, yes, he's made some key mistakes. Or he's made some mistakes. I don't even call them key mistakes. He's made some mistakes, which goalkeepers do. But I think people like when they see a shiny new toy, it's just like you want it so bad, and you kind of forget about the Andy, from Toy Story. That's all reliable. It's been there for you, the whole time. You know what I'm saying? But fair point. Again, I think that Henderson's distribution for me looked really good. But again, I just need to see it more. I can't. I'm not the type of person who's like just gonna give someone the stamp of approval off of the back of a few good performances. I need to see it for a while. Let's Guys, make sure to drop your questions for us real quick. We're gonna round up real quick on the preview portion of this. Everyone, make sure to drop some questions for us. Stuart, I see you're in here. Drop some questions for us. My guy, United Sauce and Wingers, Dom, drop some questions for us. You know what I'm saying? Suzanne, Ugly Bear, all of drop some questions for us. All Manchester United questions related questions for us, and we're gonna answer them for you. I'll probably ask a question to the gang as well, to start it off. But real quick, I'm gonna go around the horn and ask for our score predictions for this first tie, as well as our first goal scorer in the tie as well. I'm gonna go to Connor real quick. What do you think the score is gonna be, and who is gonna be the first goal scorer?
I agree with you. What you said earlier, I think it'll be close. I don't think we're going to turn them over 3-4-0. So I'm going to say 2-0 and Mason Greenwood first goal scorer because he loves a goal in this competition.
Yeah, no, that fair enough. This was Mason Greenwood's competition. That's a great point. This was Mason Greenwood's competition last season. I don't know what is he still have 4 goals for the season, right? We need him to get back to that form. I know we talk about Martial a lot. John Gray always does this. Tell me what's my middle name, bro. I wish I knew. You put it in your comments and put it in your name or whatever, and I'll answer it. I'll answer the question for you. Henry, score prediction and first goal scorer.
I think it's a tough one, really, because I think we're due conceding a goal. So I don't know, but I'm not sure. The defense has been so solid, I can't really see it. I'm going to err on the confidence side of things. I'll go 2-0 United. I think first goal scorer Anthony Martial, because I think he deserved the goal for that City performance.
Yeah, no, that's a fair shout. 2-0. And Connor, what were you? You were 2-0 too, right?
2-0 Greenwood first scorer.
Okay, got you. And then my guy James, what are you feeling about this matchup?
I'll go. I mean, given the Sociedad game, I think I'll go 3-0, just because you never know what United's going to turn up. So I'll go 3-0, and I want to see a Greenwood goal as well. So I'll go Greenwood first goal scorer.
Wow, that is 3-0. You know what's crazy? Carthay predicted 3-0 for the City game, and I literally berated him live on the stream. So I'm not going to berate you, James, even though I think it's crazy because it almost happened this past Sunday. So, and I almost had to do a ton of apologizing. But anyway, so we have two 2-0s, a 3-0. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go for a 2-1. I think we will concede. 4 games on the bounce to not concede is a lot, and that's conceding a goal is not the worst thing in the world if you play well. So I'm going to go for a 2-1. I think we will nick it at home. You know what I'm saying? Nick is the wrong word. I think we'll play well enough to get that win. You know what I'm saying? And the first goal scorer, I'm going to also go for Tony Martial. Played so good against Man City, and I think he's gonna. I think that was the performance he needed to kind of kickstart. It's pretty late into the season, but kind of kickstart his goal scoring form. I think he's gonna have a really good rest of the season, in my opinion. But I'm just a fan who, wants him to do well. But that is it, people. We are at the end of the fun. We're at the end of the preview Q&A portion of the show. Everyone, make sure to keep on hitting that like button. You know what I'm saying? So I can ask that question at the end of the show. Whoever first 5 people to answer that question correctly get their chance to win some great merchandise from Football Town Apparel. We are doing our first draw for everyone who has been answering questions, everyone who has been, supporting the channel, answering questions during all of our streams. Your hard work has not gone unnoticed. We're going to be doing our very first prize draw on Saturday on AFU Uncut. You know what I'm saying? So make sure to be ready for that. Make sure to watch the AFU Uncut podcast this weekend and see if you are the lucky winner who gets the iconic number 7 shirt from Football Town Apparel. We're going straight into the Q&A. Stuart, always a friend of the preview Q&A show, saying, does the winner of this tie go on to win Europa League? This is a really good question. I want to look at the table though really quickly before I even try to think about answering it. Where is this table? Because who's still left in this? Is Inter Milan in this? I think they are, right? No, they're not. Who's left?
Spurs.
Arsenal, Spurs.
Rangers, Shakhtar, Roma.
Yeah,
There's no one.
there's no particular favorite. Yeah, no. So I'm gonna say whoever wins this side should be favored. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely. Whoever wins this has a great chance of winning this competition. So I'm gonna go ahead and say yes to that question. I feel like there's other teams in there I'm not thinking about. I'm gonna go and have a look. But Connor, what do you think about Stuart's question?
I think probably yes, they should do. I think I'm just looking at it now. So the only team that could potentially cause this issue. I mean, you could throw Arsenal into that mix, even though they are terrible. They've caused us some issues since Ollie's come in. We've had some issues against Arsenal, so potentially them. But I think over 2 legs we'd have them anyway. Tottenham are probably the only team that you look at and you think they could cause us an issue. Ajax potentially, but they don't look the same team as they were last year or the year before. So, and same for Roma. I don't think. I think we could beat Roma with a rotated side as well. So yes, they should. The winner of this should go on to win it. But I mean, it's only really Spurs after this that you look at and think could win it.
I'm seeing Villarreal in here. I'm seeing Ajax. I'm seeing Shakhtar. Listen, I think I'm crazy. I watched Shakhtar play Real Madrid both games in that group stage, and they gave Real Madrid nightmares. So, yes, the typical names that you see are interesting, but there are some dark horses here. Shakhtar plays some really good football. So that's another interesting one. James, what do you think about that? What do you think about our chances if we get through this?
It's not going to be an easy competition to win it all, but I think on paper you've got to look at. It's probably going to be biased, but I think you've got to look at the English teams and maybe a Roma or an AC Milan or. Rangers could be a bit of a dark horse. I don't think they've got enough to go on and win it, but they haven't actually lost in the Europa League yet. They've lost one game all season, and that was in the Cup. So, you can't discredit them just because they play in the equivalent of League One. So, I think they could be a dark horse. Maybe they get to the semi-finals or something. So, yeah, I think really it's whoever wins this game, and then probably on form Spurs as well.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough. Yeah, I would agree if whoever comes out of this should be favored to win it. Definitely 100%. I saw a really funny question from Joe. Is the Premier League the best league in the world, or is it the MLS? And since you wanted to bring up the USA, Joe, I want to give a birthday shout out to Tim Howard. It was his birthday this past weekend. Greatest US goalkeeper of all time. Manchester United goalkeeper, Everton goalkeeper. Just a great man. One of the best World Cup performances from a goalkeeper of all time. 16 saves versus Belgium. What a player! Since you wanted to be smart there, Joe, I'm gonna just do my US shout out. You know what I'm saying? But is the Premier League the best league in the world? Obviously, it's not the MLS, but I think that hot take. I think that the other leagues are slowly but surely kind of catching up on us. And when I say that, I mean that. If you look at, the likes of Juventus, they're not going to dominate. They're not dominating their league right now. Barca, Madrid are dominating their leagues like they normally would. And even, us, it's kind of cities kind of feel like Bayern these days. It's just like they're just so far ahead of the pack in terms of squad depth and all things like that. So I think that, the other leagues are kind of, slowly but surely catching up in terms of overall quality and competition level as well. You guys don't have to answer that question. It's very stupid. It's like, no, I'm playing Joe. Yeah, this is another one. Who is the team you fear most in the EL, and why is it Spurs? We kind of touched on this. Real quick, guys. I think that the team I face, if I'm looking at it on paper, the team I fear the most. I would go Arsenal. I wouldn't go Spurs. I would definitely go Arsenal. Arteta has Ollie's number, and that's not it's just styles win fights. It's that simple. Styles win fights. The way Arteta sets up his team, Ollie struggles with those type of teams. So is that across the board? I'm seeing a lot of head nodding. James, do you agree with that? I think Arsenal's probably our toughest outfit. What do you guys think?
I think maybe the prospect of facing Mourinho over 2 legs is not something that I'm looking forward to. I think he's very much a knockout specialist, isn't he? In that sense.
That's a fair shout too. I mean, and they did beat us 6-1 this year too. I haven't forgotten about that. I still have not forgotten about that. But no, fair call. Fair call. Jacob says Ajax dark horse. As always, they're very well drilled side. Question from Shib HD here. With the big win against the best team in the country, do you think we can go on a winning streak to close the gap on City? And I think when you say close the gap, you mean like make it a competition, right? We will probably theoretically, I think we have a chance to close the gap in terms of the points tally where it is right now. But in terms of catching City, hell no. Let's just get that out the way. You know, we had our chance to kind of keep pace with them when we got top of the league, and we didn't do it. So we just got to focus on, you know, keeping the people underneath us. You know what I'm saying? Connor, would you agree with that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it depends on two things, really. I think it depends, one, how far we go in the FA Cup and Europa League. So I think if we get through Milan, through Leicester, I think that will then soon become our number one priority, and you'll start seeing a bit more rotation in the league. I'm not saying we'll completely bin it off, because we don't want to be dragged in the top four race, and also how far City get in the Champions League as well. Because if they can get the title wrapped up with 5-6 games to go, they'll start to rotate as well later on in the season if they go and focus on the Champions League, and then we'll close the gap. But I don't think we'll catch. Well, I'm confident we're not going to catch them, but I think we will close the gap to a more reasonable number at least.
Fair enough. Henry, what do you think about that?
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry, I was completely daydreaming.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's in regards to closing the gap on City.
Sorry. Yeah, of course. No, I think, as you said, I think, the chance has gone, really. There was that period of games where I think we could have done so. Sheffield United jumps out. Other games, Everton, even that game there, just throwing that away. That game still hurts me, by the way. That game still really hurts. But I think that chance is gone now. Obviously, I don't think anyone's expecting us to obviously get level with them and start to fight them and scrap them for a title. But, I definitely think there's a chance here to close the gap a little bit. Obviously, beating them's a good start. Whether we'll follow up on that, this is United we're on about here. We can never know. We might lose 3 straight now in the league or something like that. Wouldn't surprise me. But no, I think that's the only thing I wanted to see really this season, was just a bit of progress from third. If that means second, that would be great. And obviously, closing the gap, I think that is so important. And if we can do that, make it look a bit more flattering, then that'd be great.
All fair. I can't argue this. James, you agree with that sentiment as well?
Yeah. I think we're not going to close the gap to City. I think it's important we keep Chelsea underneath us. I think that's going to be a very difficult task, and next season as well, it's going to be even more difficult to stay ahead of them. I think right now they're a better team than us, so we've got to make sure we're picking up points where we can. But I think Leicester are out of the equation now, really. I think given the injuries they've got and the form that they're on and the performances they're putting out, I'd be very surprised if they had any sort of renaissance late on in the season. But I think top 4, providing we keep winning games that we need to win. We can't have any more Crystal Palaces or Sheffield United's sort of results. As long as we do that, top 4 should be all good, and we can really focus on winning some trophies.
No, 100%. And to that point about trophies, John Gray comes with a really good question. Q&A, is it a failure of a season if you fail to win the Europa League? I'm going to answer that question and say no, but I will be highly disappointed, and I would say it's a major disappointment if we don't win a trophy. So not necessarily the Europa League, but right now I'd say top 4 and a trophy. If you had asked pretty much any United fan that at the beginning of this season, I think they'd take it. You know what I'm saying? So obviously circumstances change throughout the course of the year. We're in second now. We were top of the table at one point. So you want to kind of stay in second, keep that momentum up. You say we improved from third to second. We improved our points tally from 66 points. That's another thing I'm looking at, because I really believe points tallies are important to kind of measure, how you're doing. No matter where you sit in the table. So improve the points tally, stay in second, win a trophy, major success. Not winning a trophy, I would kind of deem it as a dark mark on the season and potentially a failure. Connor, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it depends what if you slightly rephrase the question and say if you fail to win the Europa League but we win the FA Cup, it's different circumstances. And I think it depends on the way we lose. Obviously if we get to 2 more semi-finals and get knocked out of 2 more semi-finals, it's going to feel pretty bad, isn't it? So yeah. I think it depends on how, if we don't win the Europa League, how we get knocked out. But yeah, I think it's majorly important, like you just mentioned. We need to beat our points tally from last year. But I think it will be more of a disappointment than a failure, because I think we've seen enough this season that this team is not too far away. And I think Ollie's shown enough that he, with the right backing, can do some things with this team. So I don't think it'll be an outright failure, but it'll be a disappointment for sure.
Fair enough. I'm pretty much on that same page. You know what I'm saying? Henry, what do you think? You're on mute, bud.
Yeah, no, I think it's it's an interesting one. I think context is always important. It depends on who we lose to in the Europa League if we get knocked out, how we get knocked out. If it's an embarrassing 3-0 meltdown to Milan, it'd be massively disappointing. And in the FA Cup as well, it depends. If we get knocked out against Leicester. It depends. It all depends on that. I think context, I think, is really important, especially with just looking at trophy wins or trophy not wins, if you know what I mean by that. But yeah, I think a trophy, we really expect that, and obviously the semi-final losses have been hugely disappointing and frustrating for us as fans. And I think I don't want to say we deserve a trophy. Obviously, we're not been starved them over the years, have we really? In the scheme of things, but it would be nice to win one. And I think that should really be the goal for us this season now, is to just pick up a bit of silverware, and as you say, get that top 4. And personally, I'd like to see top 3, or second should be a reasonable goal for us.
No, 100%. Can't argue with that at all. James, are you kind of on the same page? Like, I think we're all saying that it's not a failure, might be strong specifically to the Europa League, because it is a very tough competition. And I think we disrespect it because of the standard of club we are, but it's still a major honor, you know what I'm saying, to win that competition. What do you think about what the guys are saying? I'm saying, do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, pretty much. I think in the league, even 4th from this position could maybe be classed as disappointment, given the teams that are in the race and the position we're in now. I think, a 3rd or a 2nd is, I don't know about anyone else, but it just feels a little bit better than 4th. But I think from a selfish point of view, I'd love to win a trophy, whatever trophy it is, but I prefer to win the FA Cup, prevent Man City winning that treble, because realistically they could win the treble this season. And if they do, there's a very, very strong case for them, since Pep's taken over, being the best Premier League team ever. We can't kid ourselves into thinking that they're not a treble. A treble really puts United's legacy in jeopardy. So from a selfish point of view, I'd rather win the FA Cup. But if you're going to take a trophy, it really doesn't matter to me which one in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. No, you're making a great point. We kind of live history, you know what I'm saying? As we, we live football history, we watch it, but we're currently in a moment, and City winning a treble just makes me almost want to throw up on the stream. Like, I didn't even think, I don't think about that often, that they have the potential to win 4 trophies. But yeah, I'd rather, James, that's a great point. I cannot fathom Man City winning a treble, it would just reek of how far we've fallen and how much they've risen, obviously with oil money, whatever. But in 25, 30 years, people are going to say they're not going to say, oh, they won a treble because of oil money. They're going to say they won a treble. And I don't want that. That would break my heart. So no, yeah, 100%. Great point. FA Cup, we gotta do. Somebody has to do something to stop City from winning a damn treble.
Isn't that their second one in like 3 years as well? Didn't they win the domestic treble like 2 years ago?
Didn't they have they had a domestic treble? So they did FA Cup, League, and Carling Cup or Carabao Cup, whatever they call it now. But
can't be having that.
For them to get I still don't think they're going to win the Champions League. I don't know why why am I talking about City so much? I don't think they're going to win the Champions League. I still think that's Bayern or PSG's to lose, in my opinion. But anyway, interesting question here from Ugly Bear. Where does Ole Solskjaer as a manager rank in the Premier League amongst the likes of Pep, Klopp, Rodgers, Mourinho, Tuchel, Arteta. This is a tough one. If we're being blatantly honest, he's not on the level of Pep. Like, he's nowhere near Pep and Klopp. I would probably say Brendan Rodgers is a better manager than him. Mourinho, we know how we feel. As a United fan, you know how we feel about him. He was awful for us. I would definitely take Ollie over Mourinho for us. But is he a better man? Like, you just can't compare the two. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mourinho won a Champions League with Porto. So it's just like, that's tough. Thomas Tuchel, another really good manager. And then Arteta, maybe he's on the same level as Ollie. He has a lot to prove. It's hard to, if you're being objective, Ollie's probably not one of the best managers in the league. If you just look around the league and what people are doing with their teams respectively, with the budget and the spend that they have, etc. I wouldn't say he's one of the best managers in the league. I don't think he's a bad manager, though. I don't think he's a bad manager. I think he's flawed, definitely flawed. Do I think he's the man to take us forward? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm kind of assessing it year on year as we kind of go along. But that's a tough question to answer. I'll just say he's a middle of the pack manager to be safe, and then go from there. Connor, what do you think?
I think he's definitely in the top four in that list. I think in the whole Premier League, I think he's definitely in the top four. Like I said earlier, I think he's earned the right to get another season. So, depending on how this one ends, I think if it is a complete catastrophe and we do a Leicester from last year and go on a really bad run, get knocked out, that's not going to happen. But if it really ended badly, then I might change my view on that. But that's not going to happen. So I think he's earned the right to be in the conversation for next season. Get a decent backing, like Klopp and Pep have had. They've been given what they asked for, and Pep's had that everywhere he's gone. I'm not discrediting what he does, because he is a brilliant coach, but Ollie's definitely in the conversation. He just needs to pick up a trophy now. That hopefully will kickstart his reign at United, because I think we all want to see him succeed. I want any manager to succeed at United, but I think Ollie more than most, it'll be great to see him win a trophy and kickstart that.
No, first of all, I want to follow up on that point you made. I feel like every fan should want the manager to succeed. Like, I've never been the type of person who's like, I want us to lose games. There's weird fans who are like, I hope we lose this game so that he gets fired and we can start again. Like, no, that to me, that just makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I agree with he's one of the four best managers in the league. And I'll get Henry's opinion on that, only because I wonder what he would do with Nuno let's just say Nuno at Wolves. Like, if you give Ollie that team, are they in a better standing? I don't know. It's a tricky one. Henry, what do you think about that?
One of the hardest questions to answer, isn't it, really? I think ranking managers, I think, is impossible nearly. It's so hard because everyone is managing. I like the word context tonight, don't I? But everyone's managing in different contexts. They've got different teams, they've got different budgets, they've got different philosophies they're trying to adhere to. It's so hard to compare. With regards to top four managers in the league, I think he's definitely knocking on the door. If not, he is probably in there for me as well, to be honest, with what he's done. I think this season, obviously the season is over. I don't want to jinx things. And, we end up, as Colin says, absolute catastrophe. But what more could he currently be doing with this squad, really, in the league? You could point to negative results. Obviously, we've had them. But the facts are we're second in the league. No one expected us to be second, let alone touching City. And for some reason now, everyone's frustrations are we're too far away from it. Like, no one expected that. We're doing fine, I think, so that's what I'd say with regards to Solskjaer. Where he ranks amongst everyone else in the league, and even to rank him amongst that sort of smaller list is practically impossible. I think I'd definitely say he's better than Arteta. I could say that comfortably. Tuchel is still on part of a new manager bounce. He might continue that and whatever, but Solskjaer walked in and did what Tuchel's doing, so that's again a hard one. Mourinho, obviously I'm a massive fan of Mourinho. I find that hard to compare. I'd say Rodgers is hard as well, because Leicester's not got massive resources available, have they? But Pep and Klopp, I'd say, are better than Ollie. I'd say that comfortably. And then Rodgers and Mourinho, I'm not touching that. And I'd say well, Tuchel as well, purple patch, but I'd say he's definitely better than Arteta.
Fascinating. And Ugly Bear kind of clarified. He said, Temi, the reason why I asked that question is Ollie isn't doing that bad, especially when it comes to youth players. If Ollie and MUFC finished second amongst the talented managers in the Premier League, then it should prove Ollie is a decent manager. Listen, I take that point. I'm gonna come to James on this. I take that point completely. I don't think he's a bad manager. I'm kind of critical of him, in certain things. Sometimes I think our football is diabolical. It can be diabolical on the day. Sometimes it's labored. Sometimes I wonder, I feel like every fan, if you ask them what his style of play is, you might get a different answer. I actually did that on Twitter the other day, and I got tons of different answers. Again, this is not an Ollie shot, but I think it's a fair question to ask. Do you think he's like James? Do you think, to Ugly Bear's point, he's second in the league? There are some really talented managers. Brendan Rodgers, I think he's an extremely good manager. Like, I am a big fan of Brendan Rodgers. The likes of Thomas Tuchel, it's not pretty right now, but he's getting big results for Chelsea. And then, the same old, the classic heads, Klopp, Mourinho, Pep, those are established men, you know what I'm saying, in the game. Do you think Ollie, well, I'll spin the question and say, one, compare him to those other guys, but do you think he could eventually get to that Pep Klopp level per se?
Well, first off, I think the only person who's really comparable to in that list is Arteta. I think he's slightly better than Arteta, but I think the rest of them are very, very well-established managers at the top level over a long period of time. So I think it'd be pretty stupid to say Ollie's better than any of them. I think, but Klopp and Pep are single-handedly. The both of them are single-handedly revolutionising the way we play football. Pep with tiki-taka ruled the world for a large number of years. He's coming back to that now. And, everybody knows how effective the press is. Obviously, Klopp didn't design the press. He didn't come up with it, but he's honed it, etc. But out of that list, you could go further. There's better managers further down the league than Ole. Ancelotti, I'd say Nuno's probably a similar sort of standard, if not possibly better. Graham Potter is an incredible manager. I think at a bigger club, he'd do incredible things. Hassan Hutel is probably on a similar level to Ollie as well. I think we do sit here a little bit with rose-tinted glasses on with Ollie because he has done some brilliant things. But, you just got to take a step back and look at it from the outside point of view. But, I don't think he'll ever get on the level of Pep and Klopp because, like I said, they've brought in this new era of football now. They've influenced the way almost every single team on the planet plays. And Ole's never going to do that. If he was going to have that sort of potential, he would have acted on it by now. I think he could be a top level manager in the future. It'd be stupid to say he isn't already a decent manager. He is obviously a good manager. He's implemented the style to United. He's a very good manager, and I think that speaks for itself. But I can't see him ever being a game changing manager. A Klopp or a Mourinho or a Guardiola. So hopefully that answers your question.
All fair points. Ugly Bear, that's why I like you in the comments, man. You bring some great questions. Stuart always brings great questions. Jacob in the comments here, I'm looking at your stuff, man. Really, really interesting. Arteta, Rodgers, good technicians, but they are a bit beige. I think I know what you're saying when you say that, actually, even though it's a weird way to say it. You said, I honestly don't think enough of our players are at the top level. Another interesting point about, I think there's a, for people who are, I'm pretty Ollie neutral for the most part. You know what I'm saying? I told myself I'm going to assess him at the end of the season. There's no point in talking about it, in my opinion, until then he's not getting fired. Until, I don't want to say he's getting fired at the end of the season, but a decision will be made. There's an Ollie in segment of the fan base who thinks, he just needs all his players, he's not good enough, or, the players aren't good enough. We don't have a squad like City's. And then there's another segment of the fan base who's, leans towards Ollie out, who says, we have top level players. We just need a manager to get more out of them. It's really interesting how people perceive these things. And I'm somewhere in the middle with that. One more question because I got to get the guys out of here. One more question, and it's an interesting one from Stuart. I rock with Stuart though, so I'm gonna answer his question because he's always giving us good stuff. But what do we think about Stevie G being nearly ready for the Liverpool job after winning 1 SPL title, but Ali is underqualified for the United job after winning 2 Norwegian titles? I will just say this: I hope to God that Liverpool fire Jurgen Klopp and bring Steven Gerrard in. I would be the happiest man out. Like, I would literally be – there's no words for the happiness I would have in my heart if Liverpool fire Jurgen Klopp after this season, because that would be the most reactionary thing you could ever do, to fire Jurgen Klopp and bring in Stevie G. Oh, my goodness. That would be amazing. So, to that point, I don't think Stevie G is – he shouldn't be like he's not, on paper. No, he should not be managing Liverpool Football Club. Just like on paper, technically, Ali really shouldn't be. On paper, he's probably not qualified. No, he is not qualified. But we're taking it with the grain of salt, and we're going to hope he does the best he can possibly do with the side. You know what I'm saying? And then evaluate him. I think that's a fair thing to say. But yeah, no. Whoever, please, Stuart, is this Liverpool fan saying this? Are these Pool fans saying these? Because man, if they are, Twitter has messed us up. If people are saying you should fire Stevie G, fire Klopp and bring in Stevie G. I'll just real quick, guys. This is a fun question. We'll just run through this and then get to the end of the show. What do you think about this, Connor?
Yeah, I agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. I want them to fire Klopp because that would be a stupid decision. So it would be quite funny to watch that unravel. Gerrard's done good things with Rangers, obviously to beat Celtic, like James said earlier. It's the equivalent of like League One, in my opinion, as well. So, I mean, but if you're in that kind of league, it's difficult to beat the teams that are around you. And, it would have been difficult. I know Celtic have had a really poor season, but they have beaten the closest team to them to win the title. So he's done a decent job, but it would be hilarious if he went to Liverpool. And it would be another Dalglish kind of esque appointment, and it would be hilarious to watch.
Oh man, Henry, what do you think, bro? Just real quick, you don't even have to waste any time.
No, I think Stuart. First of all, I think Stuart's made a fantastic point, by the way, and something that I hadn't really considered. So yeah, thanks for that for a start. And yeah, you can't. I think 1 SPL title to give him the job off that would be ridiculous. And I think I've been really critical of clubs giving. Top tier clubs giving former players jobs off the back of some of them off the back of nothing. I mean, the ones I was point to is Arteta at Arsenal, who was Pep's assistant and therefore was qualified to manage Arsenal first team, which baffles me, to be honest. And Pirlo at Juventus as well. And obviously, Steven Gerrard, he'll have a bit of a CV. Say he did get the job right now, he would have a bit of CV. But yeah, you're sacking what is Liverpool's best ever. I mean, I would say best ever manager. Obviously, Shankly, is going to come into the conversation, etc. But Klopp's certainly up there, and getting the first Premier League title was a huge, was obviously a huge thing for the fans, and he's obviously written into the Liverpool folklore. So that'd be unbelievable if they turn their back on him for a former player who's not got much of a CV. I think that's what I'll say about that one.
Yeah, he couldn't win a league title as a player, and you think he's going to win a Premier League title as a manager? Oh,
true. That's true.
James, just agree with us and let's move on.
In the general scheme of things, I do agree with you. He won't be the ideal, but I think they'd be a lot worse than Steven Gerrard. Dropped 8 points in the league this season. That's ridiculous. He's not lost a game in Europe yet. Which we're talking about the competition around him. It's the second best competition in Europe, and he's not lost a game yet. So that also goes in his favour. He looks to play a similar style to Klopp. You look at the way the two teams set out. He fits in with that mould. He'll obviously know the club inside out. And I think his man management goes under the radar as well. The way he's handled Morelos this season, he can probably, manage a few of those big personalities in the Liverpool dressing room that are very clearly causing problems at the minute. So, yes, he doesn't have the pedigree to be anywhere near the Liverpool manager's seat, but given a few years, if he continues this trajectory, it probably won't be a bad appointment by any means.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I have a problem with Stevie G. I can't even lie. I have a very I don't want to say a disdain for him, but I get really upset when people try to compare him with Paul Scholes, and that there's that thing in me that it just angers me. Like when people compare Frank Lampard to Paul Scholes, I just laugh. You know, when people compare Frank Lampard to Paul Scholes, I just laugh that one off because it's just not realistic in any way. You know, the Stevie G one, I don't think it's realistic in any way as well. But I mean, I think he was just a much better player than Frank. But it just irks me that people really think that Paul Scholes, you know, and Stevie G are even, you know, in the same bracket of player. Like it's just it'll never sit right with me. But anyway, guys, that was another great preview Q&A show. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna ask my question really quickly. The first 3 or 4 of you, actually, the first 5 of you to answer it, get a chance to win some great merchandise from Football Town Apparel. It's a really easy question. What position are AC Milan in the Serie A league right now? Where do they stand in the table currently? Really easy question. Yes. Temi hates you. Heard I do not like him. I don't like him at all. Yeah. So, but anyway, AC Milan, our competition versus our competition in Europa League. What position do they currently stand in Serie A? It's an easy Google search, guys. Oh, and look at that. Oh, look at that. Jacob started it. So all of you who are in here, just drop it real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take my picture. Yes, Ugly Bear, you are number 2. Second place. All you guys got to do is type 2. It's really simple. Really simple. Just type 2 real quick and you get it. I'm giving it 25 more seconds. I don't know how I'm going to count that live, but I'm giving it. There we go. Stuart, 3. Boom. John Craig, James, stop liking my. This has to be an inside joke. John says 2. So John, you're locked in. Who is the last one? Who is the last person that gets a chance to win some merch? And everyone, make sure AFU Uncut this Saturday. We are doing our first prize draw. We've been gathering names for God knows how long. So make sure to be there for AFU Uncut this weekend. To get Lampard was the best. Whatever. Okay, so I think what is that? 4 people. One more person type in 2. What's going on with you people? One more person type in 2. Okay, well, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys so much. Whoever drops 2 in here in a second, I'll figure it out. But Connor, my guy Henry, my guy James, we appreciate y'all so much. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for hopping on the show with us. Everyone, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We need you to hit the subscribe button. So if your name gets pulled out of the hat, you know what I'm saying? If your name gets pulled out of the hat, you have to be subscribed to win the merchandise. You know what I'm saying? So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and join us this weekend for a chance to win the iconic number 7 shirt from Football Town Apparel. Everyone, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you again. I'm taking the pictures of your guys who answered the question correctly. I'm adding it to the Google Doc that we have. And anyway, I will talk to you all very, very shortly. I appreciate y'all. Deuces.